I was sad, scared, heartbroken. The one person who tried to protect us was gone. And now the person who was hurting us was in charge of all of us. We were all left with him. And it was terrible. 3 years into my adoption, all hopes and dreams that I had for what being adopted and having a forever family would look like was shattered. Shattered. Yeah. My dad got into meth, and alcoholism was his demon for sure. Both of those. Along with lust. Instantly, he got a new girlfriend, like very shortly after my mom's death. That's when the drugs got bad. I need a second. Another instance I remember significantly, it was like 7th grade science fair. We're at North Marion Middle School, my dad and I don't remember if my sisters came or not, whatever. All of our projects are set up. The kids and families are in there, walking around, looking at all the different projects, seeing what these young minds created, right? I was actually excited because I wasn't like the academic kid, the one getting good grades and blah, blah, blah. I was in survival mode my whole adolescence. So academics was just not something I prioritized on top of surviving. Although I wish I had. But, anyways, I was excited because I had actually done my science project and I wanted my dad to see it because he was always so hard on me about my grades and homework. And I was excited because I did it. I was walking around just looking at different science projects. One of the young boys in my class came up to me and just wanted to ask me about my project. So we're just sitting there chopping it up. I don't know what happened for my adopted dad, but he came out of nowhere and lost his shit and slapped the fuck out of me. Slapped me across my face so hard it like knocked over the science project that was next to me. I don't remember if that was mine or someone else's, but at that point, I didn't care. He slapped me so hard. The people standing around were all stunned. Mind you, there's teachers, there's parents, there's other children standing around in this gym. And he slapped the fuck out of me in front of all of them. Cursed at me. But I don't know what triggered him, but just another day, right? For me, it was just another day. But it escalated, right? Teacher pulled me aside. One of the staff members pulled me aside, took me to the front office at the middle school and asked me, like, what happened? And I told the staff member, I was like, just talking to one of my classmates, and my dad came out of nowhere, started at me, and started cursing at me, talking to this young boy. The staff member was like, is this normal for you? Like, is it normal for him to act like that? And I said, yeah. Like, yeah, that is. As we were speaking, though, I guess my face started to swell. It was red and it started to swell on my cheek. So I think it was this side. But he reported it to the other staff members that were in the office and the principal or vice principal, whoever was there that night. They ended up shutting down the entire science fair because of this, because of my dad hitting me publicly. They shut down the entire science fair. So all of these kids and their parents and everybody that came for the science fair didn't get to enjoy it the whole night. They shut down the fair. They evacuated the building. They called the police. Thank God. They called over there to take pictures. I don't know if it was the police, the EMTs, or who, but people took pictures of my face. They asked me questions about the normality of this and the frequency of it and the depths of the physical abuse or discipline, whatever. Told them everything. And this is not the first time of me trying to tell an adult about the abuse that we had been enduring at this point for like 7 years, that dad and his abuse. So trust me, this is not the first time I've tried to tell an adult. It's not the first time I've tried to show an adult. This is the first time of an adult just seeing it out in the open. My dad didn't give a fuck. He slapped the dog shit out of me in front of everybody. So hard, it threw me into a science project, and the science project failed, and my face started to swell and turn red. After speaking with authorities at the school, they decided to have me go stay. Like, if they asked if I had any family members that I could stay with, I let them know I was adopted, but I do have like an adopted aunt and uncle in Canby at the could go stay with if they're willing to have me. So they contacted my aunt and uncle. I'm not going to use names because I said I would keep people's identity as far as their direct name private. They were kind and they were sweet enough to want to take me, and was able to go stay with them for 2 weeks. So I stayed with them for 2 weeks. I don't know what it was that they had my dad doing in order to prove or show to get me back that I'd be safe after the 2 weeks. But I think it was really more just like a respite situation. Like, they were like, let's just separate them for 2 weeks and see if this helps with the family. What their thought process was about just the 2 weeks. Like, they needed to just take us then. But they didn't. So I'm at my aunt and uncle's for 2 weeks, and the day comes to where my dad has to come pick me back up at their house, and I have to go home. And I wake up sick. I am sick that day. Like, I want to go back home. I don't want to go back to this man. I'm in the kitchen with my aunt. She's cooking up some stuff, taking care of her kids, my cousins. And my uncle comes into the kitchen and says, "Hey, I see your dad walking down the sidewalk to come to the door." And looked over and I could see my dad coming down their sidewalk. I ran to their bathroom that was on the other side of their kitchen, vomited. I got so riddled with anxiety and fear that I vomited at the sight of my dad coming to pick me up. I cried. I didn't want to leave the bathroom. My aunt came in there and my uncle came in there and let me know, like, it's not them forcing me to leave, but legally they have to give me back to my dad. Yeah, I didn't want to go. I finally felt safe for a little bit, staying with my aunt and uncle, and having to come out of that bathroom to face my dad, knowing that I'm just going to go home to the same abuse, but worse, because that slap was nothing compared to the things that he did. Felt like everybody was failing me again. My safety wasn't a priority for authorities. Anywho, sorry, I just need a little break. His abuse became so bad. One time I came home from school, gotten in school suspension, ISS. I don't know if y'all remember that, but in school suspension, I was chewing gum at school. And the school that I went to, North Marion, didn't allow that. It was like a rule, like, you can't chew gum walking down the halls or in class. Whatever. I was chewing gum. And I was a bit of a defiant child. So yeah, I was chewing gum and I got in trouble at school and I got a pink slip. It was had in school suspension. And got home. Of course, my dad got a phone call about it and said I was in school suspension due to chewing gum, and that he got a phone call from the school about me being in school suspension from chewing gum. Let me tell you, when I walked in the house that day, goes, "So you got in school suspension for chewing gum?" And like that, when he hit me so hard, I hit the floor, and all I could hear was this ringing noise in my ear. I was hurt so fucking bad. Like, pain that I had was sharp. And for months after he hit me, to this day, as a grown adult, I swear he bursted my eardrum. I don't know how I can get that investigated or proved, but I swear my eardrum was burst. For months after he hit me that time, I could not yawn. I could not yawn for months. Can you imagine that? Imagine, and I'm somebody who yawns a lot. I'm anemic, so I'm always sleepy and tired and lethargic and shit. I could not yawn. Yawn right now. Yawn. Okay, now imagine every time you yawn, having to stop yourself from yawning because the pressure that would pop my ear every time I went to go yawn. For months, I was in pain, excruciating pain. And then not being able to yawn. Do you know what that does to like your mental? I know it sounds like a simple thing, yawning. What a big deal, yawning. No, to not be able to yawn when you need to yawn, yawning is getting oxygen back to your brain. Not being able to do that when you need to do it, like it fucks with you. Like it does something to you psychologically and physically. Like it was terrible. And he took me to the doctor. I don't know if he just told him I had like regular pain in my ear or something, or I don't remember ever getting an x-ray or a CT or any kind of imaging done. Just looking in my ear and seeing that it was definitely irritated and red. So I was prescribed stuff and whatever the fuck we went home. It still hurt for months after that. So we're talking months and months and months of this pain and not being able to yawn, but eventually able to yawn again. I don't know. I think it's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to yawn. And I remember my ear popped like loudest I've ever heard it. It was just like, and the pain was, it was like somebody took an ice pick, put it in my ear and was like, it hurt so fucking bad. It was terrible. Abuse just got really, really bad. His drug use got really, really bad. And through all this, he ended up suing and won, right? With that settlement, we moved from the dream house in Aurora that ended up turning to shit. It was beautiful when we first moved in there. But by the time we moved, I was like 12, 13 when we ended up moving to Woodburn. Woodburn. But yeah, the house, Ash and Woodburn. Um, and thought it was going to be a fresh start. You know, we're moving to a new town. We're going to go to a new school, make new friends. Maybe this will be a fresh start for my dad and things will be different. Not so chaotic, walking on eggshells and depressing. We were all depressed. We were sad. All of us were sad that we lost our mom. And he was sad he lost his wife. Five left with 5 children, 2 older teenage boys, and 3 daughters, one man. So as a grown adult, I give a little grace in that aspect of trying to imagine what he was going through, losing the love of his life, his wife, the mother to his only biological child, and him having to process also the grief of the 5 children left behind without a mother. And I just think it was too much. Like he just couldn't do it. And that's why he turned to the drugs and alcohol. So I thought it was going to be a fresh start when we moved to Woodburn. It wasn't. It wasn't a fresh start. And that for me brought on a whole other chapter of demonic abuse and neglect. The levels of neglect were insane. The levels of abuse were disgusting. And now I'm going to go. It's been emotional and I'm exhausted mentally. So we will pick back up in episode 3 of me being a teenager, 13 and up in Woodburn, and the traumas I started to experience coming into young adulthood without a mother's guidance, or advice, or even a father's love, neglect, abuse, and figuring out life on ourselves as kids, trying to, because our parent was checked out. So we'll into that next episode. I am exhausted. But thank you again for being here. You could be anywhere and you still decided to stop here and listen to my story. So love, Sandra Unveiled.